5 years ago, one of the talking points after you left was you never got the chance to do the WrestleMania main event. 5 years later, is that something that you still look at as like the unmarked check on your list, or do you become to peace with that? And how do you get to the point where you come to peace with, I'm not going to get to that point?
So I think in wrestling culture, I think there's a lot of toxic garbage. I think, but I think it's like that in sports across the board. I have friends who play baseball. I got friends who play hockey, and I think there's always that push to be the tough guy and, oh, I got to work hurt. Obviously, in pro wrestling, it's more so, because back in the day, if you didn't work, you didn't get paid. It was still very much like that when I was on the road full time. I mean, if I missed a house show loop, which I never did, I wouldn't get a fucking paycheck that week. You know what I mean? I think it's 2019, and I think all these sports organizations need to address that. Yes, there's always going to be people who will abuse the system and be like, oh, I'm hurt. Like you'll see Major League Baseball reports like so-and-so out with pinky swellness, and you're just kind of like, oh, all right. But I also understand that if you're paying this guy $10 million a year, and it's a 160-game season, like his pinky hurts, let him sit out the game against the Blue Jays. Who cares? Like, whatever. But in pro wrestling, there's always this pressure. And it's very real from the office about you have to make these shots, and they make it this toxic masculinity thing about like, oh, you got to do this and look how tough I am. And I think that's really, really stupid. And I think it gets people hurt. And I think it gets people killed. I think it's a dangerous thing. And apparently you can fucking ask for time off now. So I think that if that's true, Mike, I think that's great. But I still think they need to address other things. Like there should be I don't know, off season. You can rotate people. They have 300 fucking people on the roster. Every sports organization, every team should have a professional neurologist on hand for concussions. It's something that I know they don't do. They should have better doctors.
All right. Let's not go further down that rabbit hole. You talk about the pressure of making the towns, but I also think, having interviewed probably thousands of pro wrestlers at this point, a lot of it is also self-inflicted and self-pressure.
That was kind of my point about, I'm sorry to cut you off, but like the WrestleMania main event, like I thought that was, I look back at it now and it was like it was a mechanism in my head that like, it doesn't fucking exist. It's just like, to me, that last WrestleMania I worked, it was evident that I was never going to get that last match. And at that point, I didn't care. I just wanted to be paid the most. And that was, to some people, even ridiculous. But given the top of the card and like where I was just like, no, like pay me. Like if you don't want, like you give me what I want or pay me, and that's kind of where I was. And so like now I look at it like I should have just been asking for more money the whole time.
Well, you're